We begin tonight with concerns in Valencia Park where people are worried they'll be hit by drivers doing donuts. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. One woman says she called police for help several times. And as CBS 8's Kirsten Holmes found out, San Diego police say where the crime happens does matter.
Kirsten joins us live from Valencia Park with details. Kirsten.
Yeah, I'm here at the intersection of Cervantes Avenue and North Belmont Avenue, where if you take a look at the street down here, you can clearly see tire marks consistent with drivers doing donuts or just circles in the street in the middle of the street. We called San Diego police, who say this area is the boundary for San Diego and National City. So there was a bit of confusion about who should intervene, but the neighbors we talked to say they're afraid to come outside when it's happening, and somebody has to step in and help.
This is an emergency. I mean, they do this constantly.
Gisela Ayub called CBS 8 for help after capturing several videos of this. Several drivers doing donuts right outside her home on Bonita Drive.
I don't want to come to assumptions and say that it's because of the neighborhood that they don't come right away. Sometimes makes me wonder if I live in San Carlos, if they will be a little quicker.
We went to see for ourselves and found these tire marks. Gisela says she's called police several times about the issue since she's moved in March, and if they come, she says they've taken at least 40 minutes.
They used to just drive every other weekend during the party. It was a huge party, and I called the 911 twice that night. They never showed.
I can hear it from my house. It's very, very loud. You can tell that they just keep going. They keep going in circles, and sometimes I'm like, oh, are they gonna hit my car? I mean, it's parked right here.
Talia Moreno and her 4-month-old son live near this intersection too.
There's always like people walking around, so I mean, they can always get hit, and it's very dangerous. Because whenever they are doing it, I don't like to come out just because, like I said, it is dangerous. I wouldn't want to get in the middle of it.
We reached out to San Diego police, who say the intersection in question is in National City. Residents might be calling from the San Diego side of the city border, but San Diego police says where the crime occurs is what matters. Talia says no matter whose jurisdiction it is, someone needs to come help and not take 40 minutes to get there.
That's a long time, especially like what if somebody got hit? Is that the same time that they're going to take as well? Like, is it going to take for someone to actually get hit for them to come sooner?
We also reached out to National City Police for comment on this story. They told us in part, quote, regardless of the jurisdiction, this type of unsafe driving is unacceptable and a danger to the community. When these types of events occur and constitute a direct emergency to the public, please call 911. If these events do not constitute an emergency, we would direct the public to call the NCPD non-emergency line. That number is 619-336-4411. San Diego police say they will also let their patrolmen know to stand by and look out in this area for any unsafe driving. Hopefully that will bring some relief to these neighbors soon. Reporting for CBS 8, I'm Kirsten Holmes. Back to you.
Thanks, Kirsten. Well, it was another day of high heat across inland areas of San Diego today, but some relief almost here.
Almost. Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis joins us now with more on what we can expect and when we can expect it.
Just like the weekend is almost here.
So close.
The heat is almost gone. So let's take a look at what's still in effect. You have it all the way until about 9 p.m. tonight. So you already reached those peak temperatures across the inland valleys as well as for the mountains. So it is expected to expire with the excessive heat warning in less than 3 hours. Then you have the excessive heat warning that will continue for the desert for one more day with highs between 112 to 120. For today, we had 113 for Borrego Springs. We also had those 90s across the mountains. 105, second day in a row that Campo has broken a record. You also had the 70s really dominating along the North County coast, 81 degrees for Oceanside though, and you had 76 for downtown. Still holding strong with those 70s closer towards the coast because of that marine layer influence, but you're looking at the 80s as well as some low 90s for most inland areas for the inland valleys. So that's where we're kind of getting away from it. We'll go ahead and take a look at your complete forecast coming up. Carlo.
Thank you, Carlene. For the latest weather conditions and alerts on the go, you can download our free CBS 8 app from the Google Play Store or the App Store. And as you just heard, the heat wave is impacting people all over the county, especially in our inland and desert areas.
CBS 8 Shannon Handy reports from Santee, with more on where people are being advised not to visit because of high temperatures.
It's really warm out here in Santee. We were in El Cajon earlier today and experienced the same conditions. But people out in our desert communities are really feeling this heat. In fact, in Borrego Springs, they reach upwards of 120 degrees this week. This morning, I spoke with an employee at Anza Borrego Desert State Park, and she says it's so hot, they're urging people not to come.
Hiking in temperatures exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit is extremely dangerous and can lead to potentially life-threatening situations. So heat exhaustion, heat illness can set in before you're even experiencing symptoms. So if you'd like to visit Anza Borrego Desert State Park, we encourage you to come back in October when we expect temperatures to become a lot more reasonable.
That was Brianna Pinto, a state park interpreter. She says they've posted warnings about visiting on their social media pages and have warning signs regarding the heat on trails. Brianna tells me while they don't see too many visitors during the summer months, they do have what's called heat tourism, where people seek out hot temperatures. We saw that in Death Valley this week, where temperatures were in the 120s. People there said they wanted to experience what it was like. Closer to home, I spoke with one woman today in El Cajon who said she's waiting for the heat wave to end and has been taking extra precautions, like bringing an umbrella with her and drinking more water. As for those visiting the desert, if you're really intent on doing so, Brianna has some advice.
Lo que hago es traer mis paraguas cuando salgo a caminar. También muchos líquidos.
Bringing plenty of water is crucial, and drinking it is the most important part. The CDC recommends about 1 cup or 8 ounces every 15 minutes or so when you're outside in excessive heat. And that means that a 1-liter water bottle like this shouldn't last you more than an hour on the trail. Here in the desert, light-colored, loose-fitting clothing is always in fashion. Since there's not a lot of shade out here, you're going to want to protect yourself from the sun with things like hats and sunglasses, sunscreen, long sleeves. Even an umbrella can be helpful on a really sunny day.
Some good advice there, especially when it comes to drinking enough water. Another tip is if you're exercising outside, do so during the early morning or early evening hours. And again, no matter where you are during this heat wave, those are all some good tips to keep in mind. Back to you.
Thanks, Shannon. Tonight, we're learning nurses at Rady Children's Hospital will go on a 48-hour strike starting on Monday, July 22nd. United Nurses of Children's Hospital Teamsters Local 1699, which represents hundreds of nurses, just filed their notice of intent today. It comes after union members earlier this week voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike. For months, the union has been negotiating with Rady Children's for a new 3-year contract. But talks recently fell apart, and the union blames it on, quote, lack of fair wages and adequate benefits, unquote. Officials at the hospital say they do have plans in place and are ready to provide care to patients when those nurses hit the picket line. San Diego County Sheriff Kelly Martinez says illegal drug sales are so profitable in our jails that people are intentionally getting arrested to smuggle in those drugs. As CBS 8's Steve Price reports, she is now introducing a new program, hoping to catch illegal items before they can get to inmates.
It's a new plan from the Sheriff's Department to try and keep drugs and weapons out of our jails, and no one is immune from this tighter screening. Even the deputies who work here will have to go through it. These are just some of the drugs sheriff's deputies say they found on people in custody.
Fentanyl on the street sells for about $1.50 a pill. In the jail, it's about $150. So there's a lot of incentive to traffic drugs and narcotics in our facilities.
Sheriff Kelly Martinez says in 2023, the department confiscated more than 1,300 grams of fentanyl, methamphetamine, marijuana, heroin, cocaine, and pills, along with 48 weapons. Already this year, they've confiscated more than 500 grams of drugs and 16 weapons. Inmates are searched and go through body scanners.
We haven't found it in a long time, but we even found a gun at one time that someone had inserted into their rectum.
Despite thoroughly screening inmates, others have been able to walk into our jails without being searched, including deputies, contractors, and medical staff. But now checkpoints will randomly be set up at the county's jails, and everyone will have to go through them.
So it will be a screening similar to the TSA or sporting event or things like that, with the addition of a drug detection canine, which will sniff every person that's coming into the facility. And those have been really effective at identifying narcotics.
This change comes just a few months after former Sheriff's Deputy Alan Wareski pleaded guilty to bringing drugs on jail property. I asked the sheriff why this type of screening is just happening now.
There's a lot more to it than I think the public generally knows. I have 7 jails with a lot of entry points.
So the bottom line, money, which is why the screening at jails will rotate between facilities and be random instead of at all jails 24 hours a day.
We've been super short-staffed, and operationally, I need all of the staff I have to do the work of the jails. So adding staff for this is a big thing.
Sheriff Martinez says she doesn't have the budget to permanently staff these added positions, but is hoping to get more funding from county supervisors to make that happen. At the downtown jail, Steve Price, CBS 8.
Thanks, Steve. There's additional funding tonight to help build more low-income housing in the city of San Diego. Mayor Todd Gloria says $20 million is now available through the city's Bridge to Home initiative. It's the 4th round of funding from this pool. In previous rounds, the initiative has helped finance the construction of nearly 1,400 homes for San Diegans who cannot afford market-rate housing. This latest funding is expected to help build more than 400 additional affordable homes. An update on a story we first told you about last month. The city of Carlsbad is approving a new 5G cell tower despite pushback from people who live near the proposed site. A conditional use permit was just approved this week for Verizon to build the tower. It will be designed to look like a eucalyptus tree at the northeast corner of San Elijo and Rancho Santa Fe roads. People who live in the area expressed concerns over possible health impacts, but the city planner ruled the tower is needed because of the, quote, benefit and demand for digital communication in the city.
San Diego police need your help solving a murder case unsolved for nearly a decade.
Details still ahead. Plus, excessive heat turns deadly as millions of Americans deal with extreme weather.
And an update on the largest wildfire burning in California right now after this.